Welcome to Churvapalooza. It's gonna be a lot of talk, a lot of laughs, and a whole lot of churva.
All right, welcome, friends, and thank you for tuning in for today's episode here in Churvapalooza. If this is your first time to listen to our podcast, welcome. And if you are a returning listener, welcome back and thank you for coming back. All right, so for today's episode, ladies, I'm so excited to be with you again for a very interesting topic that I'm pretty sure, of course, Ting and Chick will have so much to share as well. But before that, let us go ahead and check in with these ladies muna. So let us hear from you girls. What's your churva?
So, as you may know, I recently graduated, and as a graduation gift, my husband bought tickets to the Michael Bublé concert in Calgary. Of course, he knows how much I
Uy.
love Michael Bublé, and it was such a sweet present. He absolutely made my dream come true. So, thank you, Jay. Parts of the show are up on my vlog, The Bright Side with Things. So, if you want to see it, do visit and subscribe.
Nice. What about your chick? What's your churva?
So my churba is that Lawrence and I got married in Hawaii,
Ooh.
and it was spectacular. Everything went really great, and we're just so happy. We are married, and I said yes. Ah.
Woohoo. Well, for me, guys, we recently went to Washington with me and my whole kids. We had to go there for passport renewal, but at the same time, I booked a hotel so we can all, tour around the city. It was really nice. I got to see a lot of, places that you see in the movies. Like for example, the Forrest Gump movie. I saw that the where she walks in
Mhm.
the water. So it
Yeah.
was really very
Wow.
historic, but it's really nice. So for those of you who have missed our launch episode, let me give you a brief overview. We all came from the Philippines and have moved to another country to, well, you will know why we had to do it and what was our experience. And that's why this conversation is really juicy. So please stick around and listen because we have so much to share with all of you. But before I go ahead and do that, of course, quick disclaimer, whatever we're going to be sharing in this podcast, it's all based on our own experience. It may be relatable or applicable to you or may not, but I hope that you guys will find, some good insights about this discussion. And again, this is also based on our own geographical location. So it may be
Oh, yeah.
for Ting, right? Or for Chicken, it may
Yeah.
not be applicable for me. So again, these are all a variety of experiences that we would
Mhm.
like to really share with you. So girls, are you ready? I know you guys have your own glass of wine because this is going to be a very juicy conversation. So, of course, let's go back to the very reason why we had to leave, our home. Why did you have to leave the Philippines, Ting, Chick?
Well, that time my greatest motivation, to just leave and work abroad is to give my son an opportunity, to succeed in life if he chooses to stay in the Philippines or choose to stay in Canada. So that was one of my greatest motivation. And aside from that, of course, financial, right? I want to earn, you know, more good employment, higher wages. That's the reason why I wanted to move to Canada.
My story naman started in 2007. So that was when I got married. And my husband was a permanent resident of Canada. So it seemed only natural that I would move and follow. But for years, he couldn't get me to follow him to Canada just because I was preoccupied with the career I was building. And you know the saying, choose a job that you like and you'll never have to work a day in your life. That
Mhm.
was where I was at. So until 2012 when I got really sick. So that for me was kind of a nudge in a
Yeah.
different direction.
Mhm.
So that's when I started really considering just packing up and to leave and join my husband. But I can relate to Chiclet when she says it's about Ian.
Hmm.
It's about my kids too. One of my main motivations for deciding to go was the benefits and the opportunities that they would have growing up in, let's face it, when you think of how it's a first world country you're going to, then
Of
it's
course.
yeah, it's not a difficult choice to make. So yeah, it's all for family. The change was all for family.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because we've known each other for so many years since we were young, and it's only now that I realize I'm also relating to both of you, like your both reasons. Like for Chick, of course, I have among us, I have the most number of kids. I have 4 kids of my own, and then for Ting, being away from your spouse is really it's difficult, right? I can say that because I moved here again also because of marriage. And my husband lives here. He is a Filipino, but he practically grew up here. I think he was only 5 when they moved here permanently. So we've had that relationship for quite some time, like 7 years. He was just going back and forth to the Philippines, have 10 days or less than that with me. And then he grew tired of it. And then we just decided to, what, are we doing this? So I decided to move. But then again, same reasons, family and of course future for my kids. So nice, nice, nice. All right. So when we move to to the country where we are into right now, I know for Chick, she started being in Canada first and then eventually moved to the US, right, Chick?
Yeah,
So how
yes.
was your experience? Can you tell us how was your experience when you were moving to another country?
Okay, so yeah, so that was 2008. I just remembered I felt anxious because I really didn't know what the future will be. I knew for a fact that I'm going there to work and then eventually sponsor my child. I was anxious, but at the same time, I was very optimistic because okay, so this is Canada, like a lot of opportunity, right? But the very sad part was I was really heartbroken. I was
Oh,
so heartbroken because I had to leave my son. And he just turned 13. And that time, like, I just, like, just thinking back, it wasn't a good time for a mother to just leave and especially on this turning the
yes,
teens, right?
teenage. Yep.
And I also remember I forgot to bring one of my jackets, and my mom just called me when I got to Canada, and she said, "Oh, like Ian was very sad. He was crying, and
Oh, he
he,
must.
yeah, like he took your jacket and he put pillows." A pillow inside your jacket, and then every time he sleeps he would just cuddle that. And that just made me like just I just cried after I worked because I was a live-in caregiver. I was a nanny. I used to live in their basement, so after I work I would just go down to the basement. I take a shower and I would just cry my heart out because I don't want my boss to hear me crying. But every night for I think I remember 7 8 months I did that every day because the only reason is that I miss my son.
I think the difference between Ting, myself, and you is that for Ting and I, we're going to there's somebody waiting for us
Yeah,
on the other
exactly.
side,
Yeah,
right? Like you,
exactly.
but while
I
for
have
you,
to build my life there first, like alone,
Alone.
and
yes,
alone, and then knowing that okay, my son is depending on me, sponsor him and move him here, so I have to make it right. So also that's one of pressure that I had before. Really heartbreaking for
and
me.
I remember when you and I were talking about it, I said I think I cannot do that, with my own kids. But then again, after a few years, same thing happened to me. You know what?
Yeah.
Because when I moved to the US, it had just had to be me and my son, Rian, my oldest.
Mm-hmm.
I had to leave my 3 kids. This is not the plan though. The plan was to get all of us at the same time and move to the US. But there has been some problems, some issues with their paperwork. And Rian at that time already turned 20, about to turn 21, which
Yeah,
will
so
not
that's the
just his
age.
status by the time he gets here. So we really had to hurry. I didn't have any choice but to leave the 3 behind. And at that time, my youngest only was 1 year old, I think. So it was really, really hard for me. The memory is still fresh in my head that at the night that I had to leave, I asked them to sleep early because I don't want them to see me leaving.
Oh my gosh, the same
Yeah,
thing.
and
Like,
my daughter, she's my only daughter. She was in the crib, and I was looking at her. I was crying, but I was kissing her. And then there was a song being played. I think it's the song of Adele, like "Then this is my last night with you." So I was really crying in the car. You know what's funny? Up until this time, if I hear that song, it triggers me, like it triggers a
yeah,
certain pain
that
that
one.
even if
Yeah.
I'm with them right now, it triggers a
Yeah.
certain pain that I think it's a memory a
Yeah.
memory that I can't forget, right?
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
that was, so I'm really happy to know that we both have the same experience. May not be the same reason, but same experience. So think, what about you?
Because mine wasn't like a sudden change. It's been like brewing for years. It's been a long standing issue that I would have to consider. But then when I got sick, I started to be firm in my decision to move. So by 2014, when I moved, and I can relate to how Chicklet said it, that it was heartbreaking. The actual moment of departure was, oh my God, so many tears.
Yeah. Well,
It
did
was,
you have to leave Jamie?
yes, it
Yeah.
was, it was
Yeah.
sad because, yes, I was leaving Jamie and then I was leaving my big family. I know, like you, we are so close to our,
Bro, especially
Hmm.
your
you,
family
you,
thing. Mm-mm.
we
Yeah.
might call it extended family, but yes, they're the family we know and grew up with. But you know what? The big difference from you guys is as soon as I landed here in Canada, I was with Jay and I was happy.
Mhm.
Like for the first time since getting married, we were a family. Of course, Jamie was left behind, but it was we both agreed to it because he was still in school and he himself wanted to finish like the final 2 years of school, and then
Mhm.
we both knew that he would follow right after. So it was just a matter of time. We knew
Mhm.
it was going to happen, so we just had to wait it out. But coming here and being with Jay and being a little family, starting a home was kind of happy moments for me.
What's funny is, like I said, we've been friends for so many years. I think this is the only time that we really sat down with a
Yeah,
glass of wine, of course, and
exactly.
talked about it, like deep dive into it, like how we really felt, what we
Yeah.
Mm.
experienced. But at the time, we were all busy. I think we're all building our own lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We never really get to, check in with each other and say, "Hey, this is what's going on with me."
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But wow, what an experience! And I can tell by looking at you guys, we're all teary eyed. I feel like
I
we're all
know. I'm
teary
getting
I
eyed.
really
know, like
emotional.
it's been so long, but
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
once you dig back all the memories, yeah, you get to remember how you felt exactly at that moment.
Yeah.
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 Right. And we're just at the
That's
first
true.
part. I'm really excited to, you know, talk more. But let's see. Okay, so ayan na, we're in a foreign land, right?
Yeah.
So now that you're in Canada, chick, initially, and then
Mhm.
move to the US, you can base it from there. And then think you're in Canada. So of course you could see right away that, hey, there's a comparison from where I came from and where I am now, right? So what if you can give me, what did you find the same? Oh, it happens also in the Philippines. What did you find the same in the Philippines versus where you are now? Chick, for you, you can share both when you were in Canada and the US.
And US.
Yes, and in contrary, tell me what was different.
So the first country was Canada, right? So I moved first in Canada. The same was because it's a diverse country. I didn't feel really alienated. You know what I'm saying? Because everywhere I go, I see Filipinos. You know,
Exactly, chick.
right?
That was my exact
Yeah,
reaction when I
because
first landed here.
I was so scared because I'm Filipino, and then I feel like everyone there, like everyone is white and just Canadians. But I was totally surprised when I see, oh my gosh, like it just felt home. And food, oh my gosh, like everywhere you go there's Filipino store.
Oh,
And the difference is that in Canada is I think is people are very respectful of their time,
oh,
Mm.
of their space.
we're gonna talk more about that. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Like, well, in the Philippines, I can just crash. Remember, like you can crash to my house. Ting can crash to my house. You don't have dinner? Come to me, and I will cook dinner, and we'll hang out. But in Canada or in US, you have to call ahead of time to schedule.
Yeah.
Like for coffee, or let's go out for coffee, let's go out, have dinner. So everything has to be scheduled. And at first, couldn't really understand why. But as time goes by and started to realize that, hey, okay, so people are just really busy, because they're hardworking, and I mean, for some reason they have to have a schedule, and I totally understand that. So I guess that's the very significant difference that I can remember, when I compare, foreign countries, especially Canada or US, and in the Philippines.
Yes, and let me piggyback on that, Chick. I feel like in the Philippines, right? Um, any day you can go out for have a coffee. Any day you
Yeah,
can have a drink,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
right.
But it doesn't happen here. It doesn't happen
Yeah,
in Canada.
no.
I'm pretty sure
No.
it doesn't happen here in the US. Speaking about respectful of the time,
Mhm.
yeah, I can agree with you on that, because not just with barging in into anybody's house, but even like before you call, you have to ask them, "Can I call you?" Especially if it's after dinner time,
Can
like
we talk? Yeah.
to be respectful of that. And then I also experienced that when I was at work. I feel like what now I understand what's Filipino time and American time is because
Yeah,
if
no.
you have a 2 p.m. meeting, you have to be there on time. And
Yeah.
that's because you have to respect their time if they
Right.
have allotted that time to do
Mhm.
something else.
Because
Yeah.
everything is
That's
scheduled, right?
right.
Yeah.
If they say that a meeting is going to be like a 2 hour meeting, they end in two
In two
hours.
hours.
Yeah.
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 Whereas, you know how our meetings go. You're done
Forever.
forever. You're done with the agenda, you're done talking about the important stuff, and then you're still staying there and having your chit chat over your coffee and stuff.
Correct. And the thing is here, if they are working Monday to Friday, that's the only thing they're doing. They cannot do any activity outside of that. And that is also the same reason why they plan so much for their weekend.
Yeah.
It's because they're doing so much work during the weekdays. That's
Yes.
why they want to spend that weekend having fun, right?
Exactly.
Or sometimes I just want a weekend where I don't do anything. Because
Yeah.
you do so much already during
On
the
the
week.
weekdays.
Sometimes
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And as for me naman, back home, I don't cook, diba? Jackie
Yeah.
always like you've given me the recipe for a fritada so many times. I don't know if I've already done it. And Chick is the best cook. Both of them,
Yeah.
both of them.
Both. Yeah.
So among
Exactly.
us three, I'm the one who doesn't really cook.
Career
So
woman eh.
yeah, but over here, I think it was like immediately the day after coming here, Jay asks me to cook adobo. And I've only watched videos of how they do it. I followed the video cooked adobo. But from then on, I cook now. I
Yeah.
know
No,
a
I
lot
am
more.
so impressed with you, Ting.
Yeah, you know
Like
what thing?
every
I'm
time
gonna
you like take a picture of what the menu for today, like serious, like, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. Like Ting can cook now. you
yeah,
know
you have to give
You
her that.
have to, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Yes. And so now that we're seeing the comparison, some may be, different, some may be similar. So can
Mhm.
you name one thing or more than that actually just really surprised you? What actually surprised you? Like, you know, oh, I'll start. Um,
Okay, go ahead.
I, I really appreciate, I don't know, it may not be happening in other states or in your place, but I really appreciate that we can do a drive-through banking. Have you guys done that? Drive-through banking? Like, oh my God, we got you know how you do it when you go get money from the ATM.
2 p.m.
Here, you do a drive-through, just like when you're ordering food, but there's like as a portion or a section wherein you get kind of like a tumbler. You put your driver's license and your debit card, and that's it. You and then somebody's gonna talk to you like, "Good afternoon, what can I we help you with today?" So if you say I'm withdrawing or I'm depositing, and then they're gonna suck that tumbler, goes to the bank, and then that tumbler is gonna return and give you what you want. It's like, wow. You don't have to fall in line.
That's
I
funny.
just really, really like
Yeah.
to show that.
So when I came in Canada, I was in childcare, and I was so shocked because I've never realized that allergies in Canada, where I used to work, is a big deal.
Yeah.
because I've never experienced that in the Philippines. Yes, of course, in Philippines, okay, fine, we have some rashes, it's okay, that's fine. But I didn't know that there are some allergies, severe allergies, that he could, actually, or she could actually die. And that shocks me the most. And because I was in childcare, I was taking care of, kids, I am just so, like careful of my kids. But anyway, so that's just really, for me, so interesting and very shocking. So that's why when you're with kids, you do not just give them whatever food or treat.
Mhm.
You have to ask the parent or ask the caregiver if they're allowed to eat, or just even play with that toy, because allergies, it's a big deal. It's just something to be aware of.
I think, like they said, the land of the free, right? There's freedom here. There's, independence is practiced here,
Oh
which
yeah.
I think, yeah, they are exercising it too much, because I feel like people are so equal here. You can call your boss, your supervisor, your manager first name, like a
First
first
name.
name
Yeah,
basis. And,
actually.
Yeah.
and and if I had to call out somebody for their performance, I have to choose my words, because you know
Mhm.
why? It's so easy for them. Hey, I'm gonna sue you.
Yeah.
Hey, that's discrimination.
Yeah.
For
I'm gonna sue you.
discrimination.
Hey, you're not supposed to tell me that. They're so
Mhm.
equal, which I think, based on our culture, is very different from their culture.
It
And
it is.
I'm working here. I'm a stranger here, and I have to respect their culture, even if it opposes mine. Yes, and I think like the things that surprised us when we moved here, we're probably adapting it, probably directly or indirectly. There's some people that would think, hey, you change. Like now you can say what you want. Like, you don't choose your words. I've had that experience one time, but I'm like, I'm not aware. Maybe I probably adapted what's being practiced here. So to all our listeners, po, please, if you have a friend or a family that, somehow changed because they moved to another country, if they visit you guys in the Philippines, even if with the manner of how like they're talking,
Yeah.
do not
It's
hold it against them, because
yeah.
they're not doing it on purpose, is what I want to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
Don't judge them because it's how they adapted to where they were,
Yeah.
where
I
they're
mean, I'm
living at the
guilty.
moment.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm guilty of that, because when I was in the Philippines and I would have, I would see some balikbayans and I would hear them, I'm like, I was kind of like judging them. I was like, slanging and all that. And now here I am, I talk differently, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I wasn't doing it on purpose. I was probably just adapting it. Whether I like it or not, I have to adapt, right?
Do you find it difficult, guys, that you're kind of torn by trying to blend in to where you're at now and still wanting to be your old self so you're not judged for changing?
I don't care about who judge me anymore.
Exactly.
I
See?
really don't. I really don't. I will be myself, and it's me. I change because I have to adapt. The changes that I made is my choice, and I think that it's good for me. I mean, I still sometimes think about what people say, but I have to just remind myself, hey, this is not you anymore. Like, I don't give. It was difficult before when I was in the Philippines because, I think it's a cultural thing too, right? Like,
It is.
hey,
It is.
you have to behave this way because we don't want people saying that you're this and you're this and you're like that. So we try to always impress people. Now, no, I don't. If you like me, fine, I like you too. But if you don't,
I don't care.
you know, I really don't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah, you know what, Chick, I kind of like second the motion on that, because yeah, you're right. In the Philippines, I think opinions matter so much that it kind of affects how you live your life. And we lived there since we were born, so we kind of have that in ourselves. And then as we moved here, you start to see things like in another perspective, and you kind of
Yeah.
realize, hey, I don't have to do this. And I was, like, to be honest, I was just listening to an audiobook, and I think it says broken in the best possible way. So if you guys are into audiobooks, please check that. She was saying that as long as I am not hurting myself and I'm not hurting somebody, I should not
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
So it may sound, for some, they may not understand this, but
Exactly. Yeah.
you know what? Try to reflect on that, and it may make you happier. I think. What about you think?
I agree when you say that As long as you're not hurting anyone else, you live the way you want to live and you do what you want to do.
This is just my realization again for our listeners. You may not like what I'm gonna say, but I feel like the reason here where we are right now, US or Canada, the reason why we don't really, we don't care about people, other people, is because we're too preoccupied. You're preoccupied with your
Mhm.
work, you're
Busy.
preoccupied
Yeah.
at home, your chores.
Mhm.
But back there in the Philippines, I think people have so much time in their hands that,
Marites.
right?
to talk to talk about other people.
But
Yeah.
anyway, so so much has been shared with those experiences. Upon moving here, did it really meet your expectation? Did it exceeded your expectation? Was it less of your expectation? Be honest, ladies.
I think for
Okay.
me, it exceeded my expectations. I didn't expect to love this new home, my new home, but um I can say that I indeed love it. I love living here. I'm happy to be here. But having said that, I am still proud to say I'm Filipino. I'm still
Of
proud of my
course,
roots,
of
right?
course.
Right. But I'm loving where I am right now.
I know you're torn. I mean, I can totally, like, totally relate. But this is so ironic. I can totally relate. But for me, honestly, guys, it did not. Maybe because I live in a country, I don't live in a city. Let's be honest. When you were in the Philippines, you watch movies, you see the U.S. It's like L.A., New York.
That's
That's
Our
totally
true.
different, right?
listeners, to
Yeah.
our listeners back home, it's not all that. It's
It's
not
not
all.
all glitz and glamour of
It's
what you see
Exactly.
on
oh
movies.
yes, and it's not all pretty people that you see on TV. Let me say this. I want to be honest.
That's
There's
true.
a lot obese
It's true.
people who don't care to what they're wearing. They don't smell good sometimes. Some of them, but
Yeah.
it's not, because when I got here, it's country. I want to be honest. That we cannot have a building that's taller than the church. So you can imagine our malls, our banks, everything is just like a one-story
Mhm.
bungalow house in the Philippines. That's how it is. If we have nice parks, but initially I felt like, is this it? Ito na yun? Ito na yun? Is this what I see on TV? But then I started visiting other states and, like, so this is what I see. I went to Florida, I went to Washington. So this is what I see. Okay. And then I started, as time goes on, you're gonna get comfortable. And then I realized, oh, buti na lang here, centralized aircon. I don't need a fan, and it's very comfortable. So I guess my slow transition for me. Not right away,
Yeah.
probably. Coaching.
Oh well, definitely it exceeded my, expectation. But kasi before, when I came to Canada, you know what? It's very funny. I expected the worst. Being separated from my family, work wise, like I will be a nanny. Not just a nanny, like a housemaid. I clean toilets, wash the floor, everything, right? I knew it wasn't going to be very easy. But, as time goes by, I feel like everything was coming into place. I found love. There was also, some losses, but, and then I was able to sponsor my son. And then now he's in Canada with his family.
Wow.
So definitely did, but it was not easy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Definitely in Canada, I was very, like, really, I was very happy. I was very satisfied. Now I'm here in US. I've just been here for a few months, but it's just totally different from Canada because
Another
where I
adjustment.
live in Toronto, it's fast paced.
Yeah.
I'm always out and about. I'm doing a lot of stuff, but here in US, it's so laid back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we live in the suburbs. There's not a lot of not much going on. I have no job right now
You're
because
not working
You
yet.
just
Yeah.
got there. You
visa.
just got there.
I have to wait for my work permit or green card to be able to work. For
Yeah.
now, yes, I am very happy, very satisfied, and living here in was in Canada or here in US, it
Yeah.
just exceeded my expectation. And now, like, I feel like I'm settling in, so
Yes.
everything is just falling into place.
Wow,
Takeaway
that's
from that, now that we have talked about the experience, we're starting to create our new beginnings because we're in a new place. We're in a new place, a new
Mhm.
life. So, initially, I wanted to ask you, of course, there will always be, no matter where you are, there'll always be a culture shock if you're moving from one place to another. So tell me about it. Go ahead, Ting.
it's the snow and the winters here in Canada, in Calgary especially, because I think we have more snow
Yeah,
compared to, say, Toronto, compared to
yeah.
other provinces in Canada and other states in the US. My first winter was like really bad. It made me angry at the snow.
Really?
Because I wasn't driving yet and I had to get to work.
Oh,
So I would stand in the cold, in the
oh,
dark. You know how winters are here. At 7:30, it's still night. You can still see the moon
yeah,
at 7:30 a.m. I would walk to the bus stop, stand in the cold, wait for the bus, and then get off the bus, walk again, try and catch the train. And even in a snowstorm, the shocking thing here is, and what I've learned is that life doesn't stop when it snows.
yeah,
Like we're on, and coming from the Philippines where it's tropical, there's no winter, there's no snow, it's sunny, it's a little bit of rain, but never snow, right? So it was a shock to the system. But then after my first winter, and Jay told me, you know what? You don't have to be so angry at the snow. It comes every year. So will that mean that you're angry every year? So
yeah.
You might have
I've
Learn
energy.
just
to live with
learned to
it.
embrace it and to
Yeah,
accept that it's coming.
You mentioned something about the snow. I am with you. It never really snows in South Carolina, in Charleston, but the first time that I got here, it snowed. So
Oh,
the gods must really
well,
like me.
yeah, I
Yeah.
experienced
So,
snow.
so when I got here, I was so excited, but like you think, I hated it. I hated it because it's making a lot of mess at home when you put in your boots and all that.
and
And I'm
shoveling
like,
the snow, yeah.
and because the people here are not used to snow, everything was closed. There's no work, there's no school, restaurants are closed,
Ah,
groceries are closed. I'm like, so it's funny, but yeah. So I just thought about that when you mentioned snow. Chick, what about you? Culture shock.
Yeah, I think culture shock, the same as thing, just the weather. I came in Canada. That was oh my gosh, January of 2008. So that was winter. And that year it was like one of the worst winter in Canada because I was shocked. Like, as you can see on the side of the roads, there are like piles of snow, like, a small building. So that was for me a shock. But again, because I was like I was out and about with kids, so I learned to love snow because we love tobogganing or
yeah.
sledding. So that's how I learned how to have fun with the snow. And
Yeah.
even
Now we
not,
play in the snow.
of course, I mean, we always wanted to have a warm weather, but it's just so different having
Having
four
that.
seasons, right? Or
Yeah.
different seasons. It's just very interesting.
When I first asked Jay to buy me an umbrella for when it rains in the spring, and Jay goes, no one really uses an umbrella here.
Oh, even during the
So,
summer, right?
so what do they do when it rains? They
Raincoat.
walk in their rain jackets,
Yeah,
right? Or they walk in the rain. So
yeah,
the key thing here is just be prepared. And even with
yeah,
the winters, people, you don't have to be afraid of the snow and the winters, because as long as you're bundled up, dressed
yeah.
properly and bundled up,
Dress properly. Yeah, exactly.
you'll survive the
You'll be
cold.
fine.
and
Mhm.
and you're not really standing there in the cold. It's just like the car's heated. You get out of the car, you walk a bit to the building that's
Mhm.
heated. So
Yes.
Mhm.
really,
Even
there's
at
really no
home.
work
Yeah.
unless
Yeah,
you're working outside, unless that's your job to, build something outside, build roads, build houses in the winter. Yeah, that can be a problem. And just have to, suck it up, because that's their job. That's the
yeah,
job that you chose to get into. But yeah, you don't have to be afraid of the cold.
yeah.
Yes. I think there's another one that I can share here that I don't know, but I mean in the Philippines kasi services are kind of like cheap, right? So you always have nanny, you have drivers, you have people doing your laundry. But
True.
let me warn those people wanting to move, outside the Philippines, it's not free. You're gonna do that on your own. And when I say on your own, not just the chores, at home, because you can learn that, you do that at home. But you know what really like shocked me? I kind of was like irritated about it, was when you buy a furniture, you have to put it together by
Together.
yourself. I
Oh
think
yeah.
now in the Philippines it's happening because they have Shopee and Lazada and they order
They have IKEA
almost
now.
everything. Yeah. And like they almost have everything like an Amazon back there in the Philippines. But I was so, I was missing home so much when I had to put together a TV stand. I had to put together a bed. I had to put together so
Were you
many things.
angry?
I was because to think that my sons were helping me, but I'm still like, I don't want to read that manual. Like well,
Yeah.
it's just hard. And we moved twice already, and that's when I miss home because at home you can hire people to pick up the stuff for you, to bring your furniture. I
Hmm.
was carrying a washing machine, a couch, a bed.
Yeah.
It was so hard. But yeah,
Yeah.
I wanted to share that. Anything else, guys, that you want to add? Next thing
Not
we're gonna
not
do.
really shocking, but it's having to speak English the whole time.
Now that you said that, good thing you said that thing because the next topic is really, really nice. It's about language barrier. You know what? I realized that when you move to this country, US or Canada, it's not only that you have to learn English, you have to learn the words that they use. Because some of
Hmm.
the English, to be honest, the English that we've learned back home,
Yeah,
Yeah.
guys, don't
they're
mix it.
different.
It's
It's
totally
different.
different.
No,
Yeah.
it's different. And some of the words that may sound offensive back home doesn't mean anything here. You
Hmm.
know, like for us, oh, that's stupid. That stupid car. No, that stupid car cut me off. So at home, when you say stupid, it's like you're
Yeah,
dumb, you're idiot,
yeah.
right? But
That's an
here,
insult to
it
someone.
It's
is
Yeah.
just an
nothing.
expression.
So let's talk about more about language barrier. Any insights, guys, when it comes to speaking the language?
We three can speak English.
Hmm.
We Filipinos
Yeah.
learn English in school
Oh
compared
yeah.
to other countries where they don't teach in English. So when I first got here, they were surprised that, oh, where'd you learn your English in school?
Hmm. Yeah.
But that's yeah. So it's communicating in English is not really the problem. It's just having to because it's not natural for us. So it takes some effort to really speak it. So yeah, and it tires me out, tires out my brain most days.
I think I shared this in Facebook one time wherein there's a girl saying, "Do you know how much time do I have to construct the words in my head before I say it?" That I think I was like, I'm in her shoe, And
Yeah.
I think for me and Chiclet, we kind of have a little bit of background because we both work in a call center, right, Chick? And
Hmm.
I'm still working at a call center, but for the call center, you actually spend like more than a month just to learn the language, and it's not just learning the English, but it's also understanding them when you're on the phone because it's US market. So you have to understand
Hmm.
their accents. Gosh, I
Yeah.
didn't know they have so many accents here. If you go to the South, they have an accent. If you go to New York, they have an accent. So
Yeah.
it's really hard. And for me, my biggest challenge for language barrier is, I'm a trainer. I'm a trainer. It's funny that you're teaching Americans and the
Yeah.
teacher is a Filipino. You know,
But no, no, it's not funny. It's for
it's
me.
a
It's
pride.
very
Yeah,
impressive. It's
yeah.
Yeah.
very impressive for me,
Exactly.
Jack. What
And
you're
I've done
doing.
and I've done so many classes, like back to back class. I've done it. But each and every class that I have, I would still get challenged with my English. Not I mean, I can speak it perfectly, but it's how I communicate because when sometimes I did have a one-on-one conversation with your agent. And I have to choose the words correctly because some of them may not be offensive to us, but it may be offensive to
Yeah.
them and vice versa. And they like to use what do you call that thing? Like metaphor, like you gotta nip it under the bud. I was like, what?
Oh God.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. What we learned back home, from my experience, was formal English. You have to write the formal way. You have to speak the
Hmm.
formal way. But over here, their conversational English is so different. There's so much into metaphors, idioms, and
Mm-hmm.
stuff, figures of speech.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
those,
here,
I am kind of weak in that aspect because I didn't really get to practice it.
and here's something that I want to share. So when I was a trainer, I was doing a class, and then there's one agent. She's American. She wanted to write congratulations on the board, and she spelled it wrong. So for our listeners, they may say it, but let me tell you, they don't know how to spell it. So be
Yeah.
proud that if you're a Filipino, because we pay attention to our spelling, right?
Yeah, I actually have two different experience. Like in Canada, actually, like the stupid is very offensive.
Really.
Yes, just in my experience, because like what also they said that Canadians are very courteous and
Mhm.
respect.
And
They
polite.
are.
Yeah, yeah.
When I moved there, when someone asked me a question, and if they answer yes, I would say yep. But I
Correct.
learned in Canada, you just say yes, please, or yes, you know.
Different.
And if you don't want anything, I used to say nope. In Canada, you say no, thank you.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Now, if
that is
you're in the US, chick, you can say those words
in
now.
the US.
Oh, is it?
Here
Oh,
right now, you can actually say, yes, I want that. No. you know, again, like it's so different from one place to another.
Yes.
But I have just decided whatever works for me and whatever I feel is comfortable, I would, like that's what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
So again, I know like basic English and also like, like, okay, fine, straight English. But sometimes I'm just so into it, trying to impress others too. This is what this thinking like, hey, I have to impress this person because, I don't want him telling me that, I don't know how to speak English. But again, for them, and according to Lawrence, they don't care as
They
long as
don't
they
care.
you. They don't tell you, hey, this is a wrong grammar. This is not
oh
right.
Mm.
Like in the
But for
Philippines.
me, but that's very tough for me because I'm an overthinker and I can pick out like the wrong grammar. I
Yeah. Again, because of
yeah.
us trying to be like so right and so perfect, like
Yes.
trying to please everyone, we have to do this. But Lawrence would say,
It doesn't
nobody
matter.
cares.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Really,
It's
nobody
them.
cares. As long as they understand you, nobody cares.
Exactly. Yes, and you know what? That's when I started being really comfortable with, with the language, because at first, oh gosh, I'm gonna be a trainer. I have to speak in front of them. I was at the back of my mind, I was checking my grammar. But you know what? It doesn't really matter. Sometimes they don't
Yeah.
even know. And sometimes they themselves can be grammatically wrong.
Exactly. That's
You
true.
know?
And even Lawrence would say, seriously, like, how did you learn that word? Like, oh, I don't
Yeah.
even know that word. And he would Google it and, and he'd find out, like, I was right. And because I've learned it, in school and also with the spelling, right? But, I guess, again, we just want to tell our listener, especially Filipinos, that we can't be really perfect. I don't know, maybe because if you live in the States for 30 years, I guess yes. But
Mm.
even some people I knew, like, right? Some people I knew, like their accent and how they speak. But let us not be judgmental and critical about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
I would always welcome Lawrence's, constructive criticism, trying to correct me with some of my grammars because honestly, my in, on, at
Oh
really
yeah.
I think that's the hardest.
and that
Really?
I am just so confused. And he would just, try to correct me and try to explain to me. And I love that. But again, it's so different getting a constructive criticism and like being really criticized, and being judged.
Judged.
So
Mhm.
yeah, so the bottom line is that we are Filipinos and be proud that we speak two languages or even
Oh
multiple
yeah.
languages because I always tell Lawrence, like if I get fed up, like I keep speaking in English, I said, why would you learn how to speak Tagalog?
Yeah.
Like why would I always have to learn speak English to communicate with you? And you know
Mhm.
what Lawrence would say, sweetie, you know what? I appreciate you, but learning how to speak Tagalog is very difficult for me.
There you go.
See?
Oh, okay. Let me put it out there. It's so hard to express yourself in English when you're mad, when you're upset, and you're venting.
What? Totoo yan. That's true. That's true. That's true.
So what I do pag nag-away kami, and I'm really pissed off.
My gosh.
Well, I will argue sa Filipino, bahala ka kung di mo maintindihan, problema mo na yun.
Me, I always say, if you know how to speak Tagalog, I will always win this argument.
Oh
That's
yeah,
what I
oh yeah, there you go.
I get really so frustrated and sometimes really so upset because I cannot express, right? Like,
Okay.
because if you talk Tagalog, like, you're so good at it. And I
Okay.
feel like, okay, wait, like, he's just so good expressing himself, right? But I can't, I just can't. Like, tumeme ako sometimes, but, I feel like, sige, if you know how to speak Tagalog, lagot ka sa akin.
Correct.
Yeah.
And for our first-time listeners, just in case you might be wondering, we're Filipinos, but we're just speaking English right now. Again, we want to repeat that we want to have a common language that everybody understands.
Yeah.
And you know what? I suddenly thought that I wish we had somebody from the UK who can share a different experience, probably. Because you're speaking
Yeah.
a different language, probably.
Think you can do the
Because you're speaking a
Yeah.
different language. Think you can
I
do
can
the British
try,
accent,
though.
can you? Go ahead.
I can try, though.
Okay.
Join us for part 2 of this conversation next week.